There we go. How are we? Raven fans, Oriole fans, and welcome to Ravery Sports. My name is Charles. I am the owner of Ravery Sports, and this is our weekly live stream. Thank you for joining us, however you're joining us today, all of our YouTube people, all of our Facebook people that are joining us. Thank you very much for joining us here on our weekly live stream. So like and subscribe to all of our social media platforms, especially YouTube and Facebook, but Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. So we're doing a lot of things there. You can see on Instagram, you can see a lot of our videos, 3 minutes or less on TikTok. We'll go ahead and we have videos there. Twitter, a lot of our news, so a lot of our postings about a lot of information on the Ravens, Orioles, Terps is on our Twitter feed. The business side of it, it's on LinkedIn. You have a few videos on there, but if you're interested in the merchandise or anything like that, that's more of our LinkedIn platform. So thank you for joining us. Welcome to our weekly main stream. And of course, February 12th is the day we're going to go ahead and roll out our website. A little preview for you guys. Hats here. Got this. Will be on the website. Baltimore Ravens 1996 vintage hat. This is something that is for sale on the site when the site actually opens, as well as this one here. See the Ravens logo on the hat. Let me get it in the frame. There you go. And you have it. You see that it's on the sticker and everything is still on there. Black Ravens hat with the current Ravens logo is there. A lot of t-shirts on the site, a lot of hats on the site. A few jackets on there as well. You will obviously be able to get Lamar jerseys and Adley Rushman jerseys. Those are two big point of emphasis. You also will see Cal Ripken jerseys as well. Joe Flacco as well on there as well. So our site will have a lot of that good stuff on there. February 12th, and we will be streaming that day. So on that day, we're going to do a stream, and we're going to talk about the website. We're going to be talking about the Super Bowl, obviously, as well. We'll talk about that again today because we know now the two teams that'll be participating. But as usual, we're going to talk Ravens. Right? Oh, one other thing I almost forgot. You see the change that we made if you have been watching. The RS, the new logo, has been rolled out. So I decided to roll it out a little bit earlier than Super Bowl Sunday because it was a lot to rebrand if I had done it that day. So I'm going to be busy enough on that day with everything. So I went ahead and put that out as well, rebranded the logo there, the Ravery Sports logo there. So that's there now. So on the website, if you've been, obviously you might have already seen, if you've been on our Facebook or our social media pages, all of them now have the new rebranded Ravery Sports logo. All right. Okay. Let's talk Ravens. Okay, so we're in the off season, and the Ravens, obviously there's a lot of, this is the time of year where teams build their teams. They go in off season. And what do they want? Now, all year fans are mad about something, and now this is the time of year where, okay, now you get stuff. You get what you're looking for. You get all those things. Now, what is it that the Ravens actually need here? Let's get to the beginning of the slide. Ravens team needs. So I have a list here of what the Ravens need to do in the offseason. Some of it is obvious, some of it is not so obvious. But how can the Ravens make the team better? And it kind of gives you a point as we get into free agency. We'll go ahead and talk about that as well next week. But what do the Ravens need in terms of free agents and things like that? Draft, things like that. So you figure out like any, dad, mom, whatever, when you go shopping or parent or whatever it is, okay, so refrigerator is empty with what? We need to go out and buy what, right? So that's what we're doing here. Team needs. hold on a second. Bear with me, management. Management appreciates your cooperation. All right, there we go. Thank you for that. All right, so now we're getting that squared away. So here we go again. Let's start at the top. Ravens team needs. Okay, so the offseason is here. What do the Ravens actually need to do in the offseason? All right, I have this one at 6, quarterback. By all accounts, and this channel is reported, and I'm of the belief that Lamar stays. He's looks like the Ravens did actually institute the franchise tag on him, the exclusive rights franchise tag. That's going to be $45 million that they're going to actually have to actually go ahead and keep Lamar there. So that's going to be a lot of money that they're going to actually have to spend on him. I'm of the belief that they're committed to him. I do think it is possible that Lamar holds out, doesn't stay, doesn't want to play in the tag, etc. That's possible. So I don't think it's probable. Also, too, Tyler Huntley looks like he is in the Pro Bowl as an alternate. This may up his profile. Well, I don't know if that'll up his profile, but I think there may be some teams out there looking for a bridge quarterback, looking for somebody else, Tyler Huntley. I think he may draw some free agent interest out there. So you have to do that. I believe it'll be one of these two guys starting for sure. Pretty sure it'll be Lamar Jackson, which is why it's here and not higher on the list. Lamar, I think, is going to be the starter week 1, barring any other miraculous circumstances. It'll be Lamar Jackson as the starting quarterback. That's what I believe will happen. Inside linebacker, rather. All right. You see that one. Well, you say, well, why is this a need? You got Roquan Smith. You just signed him to a 5-year extension. So that's taken care of. After that, there's a lot of questions, though. Patrick Queen, his rookie contract, 5th-year option, cost a lot of money. What's his future like? He probably plays with the next year, or maybe not. Maybe they want to take that money, since they have a commitment to Roquan, or spend that elsewhere. Outside of him, Malik Harrison, drafted in the same draft as him last year of his rookie deal. 4th year, special teams guys. Christian Welch, another restricted free agent. What do you do? They also had Josh Bynes, I'm sure, on speed dial. He was a starter at the beginning of the year. I think he was cut, so they may call him. Didn't put him on the draft because he's not on the team. But after that, a lot of questions there. So I think the Ravens definitely look for that and draft the free agency. I don't think they spend a ton of money. I think it is possible there's no Patrick Queen on the roster in 2023. Not probable, but possible. I think the likely scenario is he stays. However, I think this is on the table because you got to pay Lamar $45 million. You know, with the cap space they currently have, and again, these are estimated numbers about 20 numbers are like between 23 and 28 million. I mean, you got to give Lamar an extra $20 million, possible. So that might be on the table about as far as who to cut and get rid of. I think Queen, Harrison, those guys, maybe something they can be looking at. Left guard. You know, it's funny. The sad part is they spent so long trying to fix this problem, and now he's leaving. Ben Powers finally emerges, finally get a guy at left guard to play next to Ronnie Stanley, get Ronnie Stanley back. And now you probably, and Eric Tass, all but men, they probably can't afford him going forward. So he's unlikely to return. Ben Cleveland, who they drafted a couple years ago, Daniel Falele. I put that in there. I think it's possible that maybe they try him for a year at left guard. If there's a spot there, Tyson, Tristan Castillo, I think he's very underrated. I think he played well every time he plays, although he doesn't get a chance to play much. So there's good line depth here on the Ravens. All that being said, I wouldn't shock me if they signed a veteran. Wouldn't shock me if they went out and drafted somebody. I definitely think that's possible. So there'll definitely be a competition again at left guard. I'm sure they'll talk to Ben Powers and see if he just wants to stay regardless. And I think they would keep it. But I do believe the likely outcome is he gets a big contract with a different team, and he is going to go sign elsewhere, and they're going to be looking for a left guard. However, rest of the line I don't have on here. I think the rest of the line is pretty solid in terms of the needs of the team, so you should be pretty good there. Edge rush. So let's take a look at it. Now, this is a very interesting one. So for a while, it's been an issue, the edge rush on the team. It was improved, I think, a lot last year. Here's the issue that they're having. A lot of those guys are older guys. You see on the free agent list there, Justin Houston, we talked about him last week, along with Pierre Paul being a free agent. They do not have contracts. They're unrestricted. Now, you do have Tyus Bowser. You do have, who's healthy now, who should be healthy all year, Dafiowe, David Ajabo on there. So we're not sure what we're going to have there next year. The one thing they may do is run the pad hand here. Tyus Bowser is back. I kind of don't view him as a pass rusher. He's more of a traditional outside linebacker. He does some pass rush, but he's not an edge rusher like these other two, Ajabo and Dafiowe. Dafiowe, I don't know if he's earned a starting spot. He was good in the playoff game. That to me doesn't make me really feel comfortable. And we don't know what David Ajabo. I mean, he really didn't play much at all. He was hurt most of the year. I think they were happy to at least get him on the field, if anything, get him something so they could see it a little bit, make sure he's healthy enough and ready to go. I think that's mostly what they wanted. So I don't know. And again, with the cap situation, how much are you going to spend on this? This is very expensive. This is not an area, too. Ravens like to go out and sign somebody. And, this is one of these positions like wide receiver. Traditionally, they like to stay in house or drafted, or maybe they can get a guy on a cheap deal, free agent later. They don't want to go out and spend a lot of money because it's very expensive to go out and get one of these guys. I think there's a very good chance it's Bowser and Ajabo started at the beginning of next year. I definitely think they're going to draft somebody here. Pierre Paul in Houston, I say one of them returns. I think one of them returns. I think one of them they bring it back and add to the mix. I think next year here is going to look similar to this year. I'd be surprised if they went out and signed Von Miller, or not saying him in particular, but a signing like that. I'd be surprised. That really would go against their MO. Cornerback. This is number 2, and this is a huge need. Had it not been for the first one, this would absolutely be number 1. You have huge issues here. You don't have an issue with your number 1 corner, Marlon Humphrey. We saw him doing on social media with Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey would be outstanding. I think Jalen Ramsey is tremendous. I think before the season was he one of the best players, best cornerback in the NFL, one of the best defensive players, period, on any team. Looks like they may move on from him. I don't know if they do that. That's going to cost them a whole lot of money. A nice idea, though, that you could do it. I think they could be moving on from Marcus Peters. Kyle Fuller played in the first game and was injured. Won the cornerback job. Here is the issue after those guys. Brandon Stevens, Pepe Williams, Jalen Armour Davis. None of those guys really were that impressive. So if you do the depth chart now, one of those guys would start. I don't know if the Ravens are going to go ahead and do that. So this is definitely a spot where they're going to be picking early in this. Not on the cornerback position. Somebody else plays a factor in this. Chuck Clark. Even though he plays strong safety. What does that mean? Chuck Clark? Kyle Hamilton played a lot of this nickel corner with those guys either being injured or unproductive or not as productive with the Ravens hope. So if you go ahead and put Kyle Hamilton there where Chuck Clark was, what do you do here? You may need two guys here. And most likely will. Especially if you don't sign Peters in, so one of these guys would help the Ravens a lot if they would emerge. Brandon Stevens, Pepper Williams, Armour Davis. For sure, they're going to go in the draft here early. They have a pick in the first round. They have a pick in the third round. One of those will be a corner. And again, this is a position where the Ravens traditionally don't go out there and spend a lot of money. As it is, I think it'll be corner that they will go early. The obvious one first is the wide receiver position. There's nothing here. Just about. Duvernay and Devin Duvernay, good job. I think he's an outstanding punt returner and kick returner. I think when healthy. So I have no problem with with him doing that. Bateman is pretty good. I think he's clearly the best receiver, but he's had a lot of trouble staying on the field on his first two seasons. So is he a number one receiver? Can he be healthy enough to actually do that? Demarcus Robinson. Other fans seem to be higher on him than I am. I'm fine with him on the roster as a third or fourth receiver, something like that, or maybe but that's about all I have with him. He's a little bit inconsistent. Has some talent. James Prochet, Talon Wallace, Sammy Watkins, they shouldn't be on the roster anymore. They haven't shown anything to me in games. I think Prochet looked good in preseason, but that's about it. I think Harbaugh said it. They need to retool this thing, revamp this thing. We'll get to that when we go to the OC search. I think they're aware of it, but they need a whole new group. I think Duvernay and Bateman, I keep them on. If this is me, I keep them on. Absolutely. But that's about it. I'm not too anxious to keep any of these other. Sammy Watkins, I think they just brought him back, to fill a spot. There's a body there. Talon Wallace hasn't really done anything. James Prochet, I thought was pretty good in preseason, but didn't do anything really the course of the season. Unproductive. So those are the things that the Ravens need and are going to look at in the offseason. So there you go. So definitely that is something that the Ravens are going to look at in the offseason. So as we lock in on the draft and all those things, we are going to be covering the draft that day on draft day. I love the draft. So we're going to be covering that as well, as long as all the free agent moves. Here's what we're looking at right now. OC for the Ravens. So last year, when Wink Martindale was gone, it basically was done pretty quickly. They went ahead and hired Mike McDonald within, I think it was about a week or two, or I think it was about 3 weeks after. So it didn't take long for them to hire someone. He did say this reach would be far and wide, and I agree. These are all the names. I couldn't even fit them on one screen. All the names that I've read articles about and heard and got interviews and possible interviews and confirmed and all this. This is the list. They definitely, I heard this last week, Eric Bieniemy is looking to go from Kansas City, possibly, if he can't get a job as head coach, to a team with defensive coach emphasis so he can get a bigger profile. Todd Monken, who is a coach, Georgia at OC, offensive coordinator for Georgia Bulldogs, just won a national championship. Zach Robinson, quarterback coach for the Rams, Sean McVay, very young candidate, hot candidate. Our own quarterback coach, James Irvin, has gotten an interview, looks like, Lamar's quarterback coach. and Tyler Huntley. George Godsey, the tight end coach. Hey, Ravens have a good tight end group. Understandable why they would like him in that. Justin Otten, OC in Denver, offensive coordinator. So has coaching change there. He's out there looking for it. Chad O'Shea, good receiving group in Cleveland. So he's out there looking for it as well. So those are all the names possibly linked to the Ravens. Also to two more, Dave Canellis, Seattle, had a good job this year with Geno Smith as the quarterback. Really revived him. He has a second interview. So that will mark him as the current case. I would say he's the leading candidate. Things like that. Bills wide receiver coach Chad Hall was the last name I saw. Ravens requested interview with him. Outstanding receiving core with the Bills. What? Okay. So those are the names you're hearing. Theme there. A lot. I see wide receiver come up a lot. This is good news if you're a Raven fan. They have been just flat out anemic. Last year, flat out not good for years, frankly. So the fact that they're looking at a lot of wide receiver coaches, the fact that they're looking at offenses with more of a passing emphasis, looking, okay, we need to get somebody in here to improve. God, that's the first thing. So in life, whenever you want to fix a problem, you have to acknowledge that you have it. And one of the criticisms I've had of the Ravens is they're not really acknowledging that they're not great at this receiver thing. So this is a little bit of an acknowledgement here, okay? So they're not hiring Greg Roman 2.0, it doesn't look like here at the start. They're going ahead and they're hiring, it looks like they're going out and going a different path this time, which is very good. Championship Sunday we have two teams in the Super Bowl. So let's go ahead and go over that. So the first game we had the NFC Championship game. 31-7. Eagles fly. I got a lot of close friends of mine that are Eagle fans, and they're going to be happy with that result. So the Eagles, Nick Sirianni led his team to the Super Bowl. They are going ahead and playing against Kansas City. We'll talk about that as well. Let's look at the Chiefs here. Not the Chiefs. The 49ers. Easy for me to say. So let's take a look at the 49ers. Brock Purdy was knocked out of this game early. That was pretty much the difference in this one. Josh Johnson, who has an inexplicable career, 7-13 in this game. Good for him. I don't know. He must play on a ton of teams at this point in his career. So Josh Johnson actually got in the game as a fourth string. Brock Purdy was knocked out. This Eagles defense was nasty. These quarterbacks didn't go out the game because of just pure luck or whatever. The Eagles really were hitting them in this game. So the good job by the Eagles defense. Brock Purdy going forward. Interesting to see what happens with the 49 quarterback position. I'm still of the belief from what I saw that you got to go with Brock Purdy. I heard a lot of people jump off that once that I'm skeptical, but he's hurt. He may be out about 6 months. It's Chad possible he's not ready for the start of camp. We'll see. Maybe a good opportunity for Trey Lance to get in there. Christian McCaffrey. This was an outstanding day. I think he was probably the pulse of their offense on Sunday, what little they had. They actually had to possibly even use him at quarterback because both Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson got knocked out of the game. So that was a good day for him. 15 carries, 84 yards, 1 TD, 4 catches, 4 receptions, 22 yards. Typical McCaffrey result. Pretty much receivers didn't do much. Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, probably because of the quarterbacking issues they had. You see that 3 for 33. Great receivers they have in San Fran. Just didn't have the quarterbacking that day. Go ahead and do it. Eagles were hitting. I would say this: a lot of good names on their defense in San Fran. We talked about Nick Bosa. We talked about Fred Warner, Armstead, and those guys. Their corners are very, very good as well. Tre'Davious Ward, I thought had good coverage all day, despite that they gave up a lot of points. The future is really bright in San Fran. If they can figure out who their quarterback is going forward, they're going to be really good. Jalen Hurts, possible MVP. He didn't look 100%. It didn't matter. 15 to 25, 121, 11 carries, 39 yards. I think they took it easy on him. I think he was hurt in this game. But, hey, it didn't matter. In this game, this defense won it for him, I thought, on the Eagles. Miles Sanders, not a huge day for his standards, but good enough. Went ahead, had a bunch of carries, 11 carries, 42 yards, 2 TDs. So a good day for him. I love these Eagle receivers that they had. They didn't need a lot of yards there, but A.J. Brown, I thought he was the difference why they even got there on offense. I thought it was a huge difference for Jalen Hurts. Devontae Smith is very underrated. One of the best receivers I ever saw in college, out of a college season, was Devontae Smith. So he was outstanding. I thought he was. The Eagle defense is why they're in the Super Bowl. They were nasty. Absolutely. Eagles are going to go to the Super Bowl with their defense. Hassan Reddick, 2 sacks, fantastic addition in the offseason. That whole defense, boy, Chiefs better have. They better eat their Wheaties to go against this defense. They knocked out 2 quarterbacks. They were in his face. All in his face is understatement. It's going to be very difficult to contain this Eagles defense in the Super Bowl. So good job for the Eagles getting in on the Super Bowl. We're about 2 weeks away from, about a week away now, about a week and a half away from the Super Bowl. So definitely check that out. And AFC side, now this was way more competitive of a game. So when I looked at these 2 games, I saw, defense, smash mouth game, old school game. First side, this one was the high wire act. The quarterbacks were at center stage, and it's kind of turned out like that. Joe Burrow, not as good a day as we're used to seeing him have. Under duress a lot. It's funny, and again, I keep saying it, but as well as he's done without the quarterback, without the line play, is astounding. So he really hasn't had any line play there as well. It was better this year, and then these guys got hurt again. But they're really relying on him. Not a lot of run game. When we talk about it a lot, Joe Mixon, they're misusing him. Saying that, I keep saying that. Joe Mixon is an outstanding runner. And again, it's not just him. A lot of teams, they just forget to run the ball. In this game, they were coming and they just kept throwing. So, again, T. Higgins, best receiver that they had on Sunday. He was 6 receptions, 83 yards. T. Higgins is really good. Their whole receiving core is really good. They got 3 guys that would definitely be the Ravens' number 1 receiver. T. Higgins, interesting to see. I would say, I've been saying it all year, best receiving core in the league. How can you afford him all? This is the challenge you have in the NFL. And Boyd, I think, has a deal, and I assume you signed Jamar Chase to any type of extension. So what happens with T. Higgins? So I already hear trade rumors with him. Those are just rumors, so we'll see what happens there. But, their receivers are outstanding. I think they'll have them for at least 1 more year. I thought Cincinnati's defense was good enough. I thought they kind of missed. Mahomes was clearly not 100% in this one. Sam Hubbard had the 1 sack. That's the strength of their team. They got to do better. They have to do better I think, on defense. In going forward, their back end I'm not impressed with. The linebackers are decent enough. Logan Wilson, Pratt, they need a new secondary. I've been saying it, and you saw it in this game. They've got to do that if they're going to go ahead and beat Kansas City, which I think really the only teams above them is the Chiefs in the AFC. Obviously, I mean, they came in and they were runner-up. Mahomes. It's funny how this week everybody knew all along how great Mahomes was, and they knew how this was going to turn out. Yeah, right. Mahomes was outstanding in this game on a bad wheel. 29 for 43, 326 yards, 2 TDs. Fantastic. I thought he was the reason they won, obviously. They got to give him some more help, though. I think that's becoming a thing. Isaiah Pacheco, 10 carries, 26 yards. Marquez Scantling had a really good day. He had 6 catches, 116, a couple TDs. He was great. Defense, I kind of see almost the same thing with them as I do on offense. You know, on offense, they're so reliant on Mahomes. On defense, they're so reliant on Chris Jones. You know, when he has that great day, they're able to go ahead and navigate and do very well. I thought Chris Jones was outstanding. He was the biggest reason why they were having so many problems against the line. He took total advantage of it. Defensively, Kansas City, I think, is okay enough. But they're definitely led by Chris Jones, who is an outstanding defensive player, outstanding defensive lineman. He's one of these guys you can put him anywhere on the line. If they played him at linebacker, I think he'd be fine, even with his size. On the edge rush, you can play him inside with a lot of time they play. You can play him anywhere. He's good enough at all those positions as well. So we're gonna have Eagles and Chiefs in Super Bowl. It is a surprise to me that the Chiefs are not favored in this game, too. It is a surprise to me that they're on there. Eagles have been one of the best teams during the course of the season, but I have no doubt that the Chiefs have been there before several times, so it's a little surprising that they are favorite in this game. So we're gonna have Super Bowl February 12th. So we'll go ahead and check it out, and we'll be streaming that day before the game. Let's talk about Maryland basketball. So, Maryland, we're going to talk about this one here. Maryland going against Michigan State. Those are the records as of right now. Maryland was very impressive yesterday, getting a win against a ranked opponent, Indiana. So, Indiana worked to win into the top group there. Top 25, and Maryland went ahead last night as recording. I'm recording this on Wednesday, so the game was on Tuesday night. So whenever you're watching this, so good win for the Terps there. So now we're seeing it now in the Big Ten, what the separation is. I think like you have Purdue at the top, and then you have Indiana, Maryland, Michigan State, all those fighting for those spots. And we're definitely going to talk about Michigan State because this is a team that was the top dog in the Big Ten for a long time, and they are right there, I think, in the mix for it. So let's go. And now, the Spartans. Let's go ahead and talk about that. This game is on February 7th, so that's a Tuesday night at the Breslin Center. I'm thinking, they didn't say, a lot of times these college games, it's hard to tell. They kind of decide the last minute. I'm thinking it'll be ESPN that is covering this game. The coach needs no introduction. Tom Izzo, I think, along with Jim Boeheim, now that Mike Krzyzewski is retired, is probably the most honored, most successful college coach that is around still. No question about it. 28 seasons as the head coach at Michigan State. Looking this up, he's been there since '83. That's I was 6 years old when he started coaching at Michigan State. He was the assistant coach for about 12 years before he took the head job. I think it was 95. So wow, that's incredible what he's been able to accomplish there at Michigan State. Malik Hall was their all preseason Big Ten, has not been able to play for him. He has been injured, so they haven't had him. He will not be on the court, so hopefully they're able to see him at some point this season. So who has been playing? I think this is their number one guy here, Tyson Walker. This guy is more of a he's 6'1", but he's really not a point guard. He's more of a shooter. He transferred from Northeastern, 13 points. These are stats again as of now. 41% of three. He's a shooter. He's 6'1", but he's an off-ball player. I think he can, not that he can handle the ball, but I think he's best served jump shooter, off the ball. Shooting is a theme when you're actually playing this Michigan team. Joey Hauser, he has a twin brother who is a player, also a good player in college basketball. But this guy is not exactly the scorer that is. He's a bit more of a banger. Again, shoots the ball a lot. Plays inside, which he's one of these guys you see a lot nowadays in college basketball. When he's playing defense, he's inside, he's banging around, he's getting a rebound, and then when he's offense, shoot three. Shoots a lot, 13 points a game, 7.5 rebounds. He's their leading rebounder. And AJ Hoggard, he's their true point. He's the senior, 12.7 points a game, 3.8 rebounds, 5 assists. He's their leading distributor, slasher, cutter type. This is the guy that you need to watch on defense. This is the guy that you have to go and stop if your Maryland game plan as far as making sure that he's watching him and Tyson Walker. What should Maryland be doing? Go ahead, keys a victory in this game if you're watching this game. Maryland on offense, Jameer Young, Jameer Young, Jameer Young. I've been saying it a couple times. Their offense kind of goes as he goes. So when he has a night where he's scoring 22, 23 points, has a good night, they win a lot of those games. If he's at 11 or 12, like we saw in the Purdue game or something like that, not really shooting the ball a lot, then they kind of struggle to score. So offensively, they pretty much goes as he goes. And so that's important that they go ahead and keep the ball in his hands on offense. To beat Michigan State, what do you need to do? Stop the three ball. Okay, so when you are playing a team like Purdue, playing a team like other teams with size, this team likes to shoot a lot. They're very good shooters. This whole group, when I've seen them, they really shoot the ball well from the outside. Good percentages from a lot of these guys. So that's what you need to do with these guys. Defensively, crowd three. I think that fits well for them. I think they can do that. I think a lot of their guys, Akeem Hart especially, they could go ahead and cover that defense. And so that's a good emphasis. I think Maryland wins this game. Michigan State has been good throughout the years. I think they're too reliant on Walker hitting the three, and I think Maryland can go ahead and defend that well. Unlike I think Purdue, where you had the size issue, I think Maryland should be able to go ahead and defend here and get that squared away. I like Terps in this one. Definitely check it out. The channel also check out. I did say ESPN. Unlike the NFL, and sometimes they don't decide to the last minute. It's on this, so I'm thinking this is ESPN game. Looking at the schedule as well, but definitely check your local listings, as they used to say. All right, there you go. Big Orioles news that happened. So this is a sneaky good move. If fans don't already know. So they went ahead and they have attained starter Cole Irvin from Oakland. So Irvin had about 9 wins, ERA under 4, 2 consecutive years from the A's. The second one, the last name, I'm still having trouble with. Kyle Trubisky prospect, and they traded away Darrell Hernandez, who is one of the guys I had in my top 10 as far as the Orioles prospects. Then I believe he was in the top 10 in terms of Orioles prospects. So they went ahead and traded him away to Oakland. So this is a good move. I think this is kind of a move. It's blue light special in terms of price, which we're sick of as fans. But this is a move that you do make. Give them credit that you are trying to do when you are trying to win more games. This is, you trade away a prospect. You have a little bit of a gut here and shortstop, etc. So you trade away a guy that the team would like, and you got a veteran starter. So that's definitely a good move. I think getting anybody from Oakland is good. I think it's because Oakland, their situation is so bad. This guy can absolutely come in here and win games for you. He's shown he can keep his ERA under 4. Definitely, he's on a better team. Not a lot of power stuff here. I mean, from all the videos and everything I saw of him, just a lot of guile, a lot of finesse. Keep the ball in the ballpark. I think he'll fit fine in the new Camden Yards. I think like now Camden Yards is hard for us to say it's more of a pitcher's park. For years, and it was bludgeoning you to death with all those home runs, and now you get a guy like this, better chance for it to work out. He's definitely also too a rotation. So I think this kind of answers maybe a question about possibly if we saw DL Hall, Tyler Wells, things like that. This guy is definitely going to be in the rotation. So I don't think there's any chance he's in the bullpen or anything like that. He's going to be in the starting rotation at the beginning of the year. So no question about that. Real quick, I've talked about this before. I do want to say one more thing on this one here. Ed Reed was let go, as we know, as head coach of Bethune-Cookman a couple weeks ago. Definitely this week, and I'm going to shout it out. Roland Martin Unfiltered, that is his YouTube channel, about 900,000 subscribers. He's going to go over some of the conditions at Bethune-Cookman this week. He's going to have a town hall. I'll put the link down in the description box if anybody wants to go ahead and check that out. Shannon Sharp and him were going back and forth on Twitter, etc. 2 former Ravens. One of the reasons why I'm bringing it up. I'm going to talk about Shannon Sharp and Bayless, Skip Bayless, and Stephen A. and what I think the media gets them wrong a lot, frankly. But definitely shout out to Ed Reed as far as that goes. Definitely he's not going to be the coach here. I think he mentioned about wanting to come back. So definitely check that out and seeing some of the conditions that are there at Bethune-Cookman, etc. Not just on the sports side, just as a whole. Went to an HBCU before. I have that perspective as well. I'm just tired of seeing crappy HBCUs look like what I'm seeing. Look like. Why should Ed Reed or anybody else accept that type of nonsense? So, I won't go any further with that because I went over that a couple weeks already. But, definitely check that out. I'm gonna put a link to the description box for that. There. All right. One more baseball topic. We're gonna talk about this. So we had the Hall of Fame vote last week here. And I don't even know where to start. This is ridiculous. Scott Rowland, of the 28 candidates in the Baseball Hall of Fame, was the only one to get 75% of the vote. So congratulations to Scott, and I mean that. Scott Rowland, congratulate him being one of the newest one of the Hall of Fame. If you look at the vote counts here, and I'm putting them up on the screen here, Scott Rowland, 76.3%. Todd Helton, 72%. Billy Wagner, 68%. Andrew Jones, 58%. Gary Sheffield, now this is where it gets ridiculous. Gary Sheffield, 55%. Carlos Belcher at 46%. Jeff Kent, 46%. A-Rod, one of the best players I ever saw, 35%. Manny Ramirez, 33%. Omar Vizquel, 19%. More understandable over Omar Vizquel. But I think he's Ozzy 2.0. That's kind of why I think he always should be in, like defensively. He should get in with defense. This is becoming the Hall of Very Good. I don't think I've had a chance to really put my stance on that, on where I feel on the Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm so happy when they get rid of these little over-the-hill writers in charge of it that care so much about it, because they're the ones preventing all these great players from being in. Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. A-Rod should be in the Hall of Fame. Rocket should be in the Hall of Fame. It's the Hall of Fame. You want the best players there. The steroid era thing, and let me tell you something. If you went through the 80s and Football Hall of Fame and took those guys out, you wouldn't have a ton of guys in the football or basketball or whatever. For these guys to think that their vote more important, well, they're deciding, and they do get to decide, I guess, but that they should keep out a lot of these guys out of the Hall of Fame. It's ridiculous. And you vote, look, Scott Rowland, and I watched his whole career. I'm at the age now where I watched the whole career of Scott Rowland, Vizquel, A-Rod, a lot of these guys. Scott Rowland was never the best player on his team. He was a good third baseman, had a good career, but to vote him in and not have A-Rod in, not have Manny Ramirez in, not have Barry Bonds in, not have the Rocket in, it's a travesty. It's an absolute travesty. Even a guy like Gary Sheffield, who wasn't even a player on that level. It's how can you have a Hall of Fame and not have the best players in it? And it's here's the thing with Barry Bonds, and this is controversial, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. A lot of older fans disagree with me. But what was Barry Bonds ever caught doing? Correct me if I mean, did he ever fail a steroid test? Did anybody ever catch him do anything? Did anybody ever there was nothing. I understand like Mark McGuire, who actually was actually at Congress taking the Fifth Amendment, or Rafael Palmeiro, who actually did fail a test. Or what. I mean, I think we're being too hard on those. But like the best players should be in the Hall of Fame. And these guys, these baseball writers, most of them are older than I am, and I'm in my 40s. They need to stop. They just need to stop at this point. You can't. What are you accomplishing by putting a Scott Rowland in the Hall of Fame and keeping out A-Rod and Barry Bonds? I mean, Barry Bonds is an all-time home run hitter. Pete Rose, I kind of do understand. Gambling on his own team. That's a different subject. I think that's art. I'm more understand. But guess what we're doing nowadays? Guess what's right downtown? If you go to the Oriole game, probably what people do before the Oriole game or after, they go to Horseshoe. Baseball and all sports and embrace gambling. Now it's okay. So I'm not saying what Pete did was okay, but I think like the hypocrisy of it all is astounding. I mean, the fact that these guys are keeping out great players like that. And then you vote in the two guys at the top with the most votes, whether I think in all these names, you could argue was the least deserving. I mean, Todd Helton was a decent enough player. Hall, and I think Hall is very good is about right with both of them. I mean, they were very good. I don't want to be too disrespectful because they both were very good players. You don't get to play 17 years in the majors like Rowland did, or like Todd Helton and not be very good. He was very good. Just wasn't one of the greatest ever. Not better than Barry Bonds. Not better than even some of these guys on this ballot, like A-Rod and Manny Ramirez and Vizquel. I mean, I take all those guys in the Hall of Fame before I vote Scott Rowland. So I really wish, hopefully, Major League Baseball can take some control of this. Let's get a fan vote. Let's get a players vote. Let's get something. Get rid of these ridiculous writers out of the Hall of Fame voting that are keeping out some of these great players. And some of these guys, you have no evidence of anything. Nothing. You have no proof that Bonds did anything. You have no proof that Sheffield did anything. A-Rod did come out and did fail a test, and I think he was caught failing a test. I mean, if we did steroid era in the 80s, you wouldn't have half the NFL Hall of Fame. I can tell you that. And that's just my opinion, subjection. I don't have a legend. But I can tell you, I was around, and it was everywhere. It was everywhere in the 80s as far as players. Late Lyle Alzado, one of the best rated players I ever saw. Definitely steroids all through his career. Jose can, it's on and on and on. So it's hilarious when I hear these guys say, "Well, you can't have this. You cheated." I mean, they just sound like a bunch of old fuddy duddies. I don't. Let's have the Hall of Fame be the Hall. Let's have some of the great players that belong in, that gave us so many of the great memories. Let them have their moment in the Hall of Fame. Let these guys go ahead and go across the stage and shine ahead and be acknowledged for the great things they've done for baseball. So again, people may not like that. That's where I'm at with it. That happens. Let's have some of these great players in the Hall of Fame. And then, yes, but hey, look, again, shout out Scott Rowland. He got in. Good for him. Outstanding. All right. So, definitely, thank you very much for joining us this week on our main stream this week. Next week, definitely, we are going to talk about a little bit more about Ravens free agency on our main stream. We're definitely going to talk about that. The Ravens, we're going to look at who is now available in free agency. Now, who is the guys that the Ravens may be talking? Now that we know the needs, who may not be leaving. Now, who is the guys the Ravens may look at? Hopefully, we will know by next week who the coordinator is, what type of style that will definitely factor in as well. So, definitely like and subscribe to all of our videos as well. If this was good content and you like it and had value to you, definitely like and subscribe to our videos. Real quick, as I mentioned it every week, Genesis Notary Services is our business that we have, our notary business. We will come out if you are in the Shenandoah, Virginia area, Shenandoah Valley area. We will come out and stamp the bit. We will stamp your documents for you. Definitely, we added wedding efficient to our portfolio there. So if you are looking for that, definitely that is in our notary business as well. Pretty soon, we're going to be doing loan signings. All right. So if you're closing on that house, if you're closing on that house or anything, and you need a notary, you definitely can go ahead and give Genesis Notary Service a call. And again, February 12th, Super Bowl Sunday. Merchandise like this hat here. Get it in the shot. There we go. Merchandise like these hats here. I got hats. There's a lot more stuff. All right, I grab the hats real quick. So we can go ahead and get it on the website there. That will open on the 12th of February. We're going to be streaming it that day. And you can go ahead and start buying merchandise on the site on February 12th for the Super Bowl. Enjoy it. We'll be back next week for our main stream. Thank you very much for watching. You have a great rest of your day.